everything and everyone needs someone.
That's
And
right.
so if you're an entrepreneur or if you're just, working at a corporation or whatever your profession is, you need someone.
It's just something that I live. It's just something that I live. Hey, hey, hey. It's just something that I live that this world don't live. It's just something that I feel that this world don't feel. I gotta keep it real. J.E. Get 'em. It's just something that I live that this world don't live. It's just something that I feel.
Welcome to the Let Bob podcast. It's your boy Ant. I don't know, man. Dave's still not with us. I think I'm gonna take it over, man. I think I'm gonna let Dave kind of enjoy and spend more time with the family. And if he wants to come back, he can come back. If not, we're gonna keep bumping, keep things rolling. Anyhow, we got a special guest today. Significant yet again, a good friend of mine, who's kind of saw me do some things and grow and be on this entrepreneur journey, been supportive, been a mentor in some cases. And so often always excited to get that type of person who's impacted you to come on and talk to you in your environment. See, she in the Bob world today.
I'm in the
Um,
Bob room today.
Entrepreneur in her own route and doing some amazing things. So definitely wanted to get her on. Just kind of talk about what she got going on. Miss Martha Underwood, how you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. How you doing?
I'm always good. I keep my little high spirit. I got my special hat on today. Got
You
my little
always got
feather
on.
in there for him a little bit. Ain't gonna show too much of it. But really just want to show black excellence. You're doing some amazing things, have done some amazing things. So I like to bring people like yourself on the podcast, talk about that black owned business. What does it look like? What does it feel like? So if you don't mind, just tell us. So where did you grow up in, like what area of the country you grew up in when you got started?
Yeah, so I grew up in Miami, Florida. So
Oh,
my parents are from Haiti, which actually today is Haitian Flag Day. So I gotta just big up all my Haitians out there, sac passe.
okay.
Um, and so yeah, my parents immigrated from Miami. Actually, my dad immigrated from Miami to Cuba, to the Bahamas,
Oh,
and then
wow.
to Miami,
Okay.
where I was raised. I went to Miami Central High School. I matriculated through their computer magnet program, and then went on to University of South Florida in Tampa. Worked in Tampa for about 15 years until my husband brought me to Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay, that's right. You in the city. You in the city, and that's how I cross paths with you. She's actually a good friend with one of my business partners, and so that's how I got the privilege of meeting her. And at the time, I think you were at BBVA Compass. I think.
I was head of their retail software engineering.
Okay, all right. So you just always at the top. Even in the corporate space, you doing your thing. And so talk to us about how did you get into the whole entrepreneur own your own business mindset? Like where does that come from?
It comes from my dad.
Okay.
So my dad is a serial entrepreneur. When we were in the Bahamas, my dad owned his own tailor shop. So
Okay.
he would make all of the gowns and suits for all of the British dignitaries that would come over.
Okay.
Then when we came to the United States, we had a print shop, we had a cleaning company, and then my dad owned his own medallion for his taxi, which is a big deal before Uber came along.
Okay.
So I remember, when I was in middle school and in high school, going along with him to the FAA, to libraries, to clean, because he believed that everyone had to have hands in the business and to teach us that we needed to be the ones to basically make the money for ourselves. Because my dad never really wanted to report to anyone, and he wanted to have the freedom to be home with my brothers and sisters and to raise us and
Yeah.
not be absent, always working. And so I think seeing that was big for me.
Okay.
And so I always had that entrepreneur spirit just by watching him.
No, that's cool. And so with your company PRISMM. So I got to give you your stage to talk about that and let the audience hear about your company. But do you think how you started PRISMM and how do you run it kind of comes from watching what you saw your dad doing when you were growing up?
Absolutely. Because one, launching a company is not easy. You know that,
Yes.
right? There are a lot of different components. First, people think it's easy, but you have the idea first. Then you need to do all of the admin basics and get your back office set. And then you need to sell, right? And so I saw my dad sell and connect with people. And that's what I do with PRISMM. And I always say, even just with building PRISMM, I built PRISMM out of love for my parents, because we'll talk about that and how it even came about. But he's such an integral part of why I created it, just watching him be able to deal with the challenges of, okay, I might not be able to make payroll this week. What does that look like? And going out and hustling and making a sale, right? I remember sitting with him in the offices of the FAA talking to one of the executives, and he was trying to win that account. And he said, I know you need a new cleaning company to come in, because is that a picture of your family behind you in a frame? And the executive was like, yeah. And he was just like, it's filthy. It's dusty. If I was here in this office, if I was cleaning, my company was cleaning office, you'd have clear picture to see your family every day. And I thought that that was gangster because his attention to detail, and he won the account.
Yeah.
But the fact that he took me along with him, I got to see it in action. I got to see him connect with people, because sales is critical to your business.
Yes.
Right? And being able to talk about it and understand the problem that you're solving and connecting with the customers that you were serving, that's one of the biggest lessons that I took from him.
Oh, that's interesting. I think I talk about that a lot, right? So at Bob, our 4 pillars are community, finance, ownership, and education. We really are big on ownership. But I think sometimes in our culture, we don't get the exposure the same way, right? We don't get to see the deals, what's happening behind the scenes when the deals are happening, right? A lot of times you just see maybe a Black-owned business take on this big contract, but you don't get to see like the strategic approach the founder or the sales team is taking to acquire those deals. And so I think that was very beneficial to you to see that. So now you kind of see and kind of form your own method and approach just based on that exposure. So I think that's cool. So tell us about PRISMM. Like, how did it, like, what made you start it? Like, what is it, first of all? And then, like, what made you start the company?
Sure. So PRISMM is a digital vault built to ensure the wealth transfer to the next generation and to ease the administrative burden that people may feel at end of life.
Okay.
Because we all have a box somewhere in a closet or a file cabinet with all of our papers, but typically people don't know where that is. So in the event of death or incapacitation, especially like with older folks with dementia, it's where are all of those things? And so that's what PRISMM is. The reason why I created it is in 2017, when Hurricane Irma hit Miami, Florida. My parents, their house was okay, didn't get any damage, but the neighbor's house had this huge tree fall on it. And so my dad, being the neighborhood guy he is, went over with his chainsaw, climbed on the roof, and started to try to cut the tree off. Well, he slipped and he fell off the roof and went unconscious. My mom was there and she went hysterical. She was just like, oh my goodness. And everyone knows that in their family, there's 1 or 2 people that's always called. I'm that person that's called.
Okay. And
here I am 700 miles away, in Birmingham, and there are no flights going out. And even if I got in my car and drove, it was going to take me about 13 hours to get there. And so there's nothing that I can do, but my mom got my dad to the hospital. And when he got there, my mom was still distraught. Doctors asking her questions like, what are some of his health issues? Is there anything that we should know? Now, I know my dad does not take blood, and I do know he has some issues with anesthesia. That's about it. Okay. And then I said, well, what if something happened to him? Because at the time he was lucid a little bit, but we still didn't know if he had internal bleeding, what the damage was. And so I'm thinking, well, where's his will? Where's the insurance policy? How are we going to take care of mom? What are we going to do with the house? Like, what's his passwords? Where are all the bank accounts? I knew nothing. And that's what made me think that there has to be a technological solution for this.
Yeah.
Right? My dad ended up being okay, but that's really the reason why I built PRISMM. I built a little makeshift platform in 2017 so that I can have access to all of their accounts. I can have all of the access to their health directives, to their wills, to the life insurance policies, everything in one place. So that if anything ever happened again and I can't get there immediately, I can go into my vault and pull the information and make sure that they get the care they need, make sure that the finances are taken care of, and making sure that nothing really happens to them. Because when that happened, my dad was in his late 70s. They're now 82 and 83 now.
Okay.
And so I'm a part of the sandwich generation, and a lot of my friends are experiencing the same thing, where we might not be able to pick up and be able to handle or be the caregivers that we want to be to our family members because we have our own family. But this allows us to at least access the information and make sure that the dollars flow where they need to flow, which is really the important piece, if anything happened to them.
No, some of the greatest products are created out of that either experience or a true need, right?
Yeah.
And especially with a social impact like that. I've experienced a loved one transition, and we experienced the same thing. My grandfather died January 2020, and it was very similar. It was a sudden death. He had a heart attack, and he was the sole provider for my grandmother, and he spoiled her. Okay, my grandmother didn't even know how to work the AC. She knew how to turn the air up and down. He just did it all, right? And so we're asking her questions. You know, she didn't know anything. And in my family, I'm like you. I'm one of the people who get called. And then going through his finances, we were fortunate. He was very organized and very structured in his approach. And so with that, I was able to kind of track a lot of things. But life insurance policies, to this day, we still don't know if he had additional life insurance policies, right? Because it just wasn't in the safe, because he kept all his stuff in the safe.
Right.
And my grandmother just didn't know. You know, I'm a firm believer because my granddad was real cheap and really, really frugal. And so I think he had money maybe buried somewhere. It's kind of, he's from that generation.
Yeah.
We don't know, right? And
That's
so
right.
something like PRISMM would have been perfect for that incident. So we would be, or for his transition. So we would have a place to go and get this information.
Right.
And just focus on that, because dealing with a transition is very transactional. And you don't have a lot of time to really just mourn the death of your loved one. And I think PRISMM would soften that. I think it will not it will for others soften that transactional experience and let you focus on, mourning your loved one. So that's cool. And excited about it. I'm a big fan, right? So I'm excited about it. I believe it's an excellent idea, excellent product. You are getting traction, which is cool. I heard the grapevine and witnessed with my own eyes. You have a excellent investor who's backing your vision. Would you like to talk about what that looks like and explain who that is?
Sure. So last December, we partnered with award-winning actor Dr. Malik Yobo because he experiences this himself. His mom passed of dementia, and she had dementia. And he was like, if I had something like PRISMM, it would have saved me and my sisters so much, headache of trying to figure out where everything is. Because people think, and he and I always say, later doesn't belong to us, right? We think that later belongs to us, like we'll get to it later. But life just happens at times. And so he was a firm believer in that, and he sees the vision, he sees the use case, and he wished that he had it himself when he needed it. And so he partnered with us. I was just in New York last weekend talking about PRISMM on one of his panels because we were talking about generational wealth.
Yes.
Right. And the biggest way, or the most common way people get wealthy or wealth happens for a person, is through transition, through you pass it on to the next generation. And so the focus was, we keep talking about generational wealth, and this generation now, we're doing so much better than our ancestors. We are college educated, we're starting businesses, we have healthy savings, but we're still very private, and we won't share that information with people.
Yeah.
And if we don't share that information, then that those assets get tied up and they get sent up to the government, and they never see our heirs. Right? Our heirs will never see those dollars. So that's why with PRISM, because I understand how people can be private, we built in that privacy component to allow you to share it with someone, but then say, I don't want them to see it until I transition, or I want
Mhm.
them to see it now. So you can control the access points of when you want them to have access and see everything that you might have left, your accounts, your documents, the properties that you may own, all of that. And so it's exciting because to have someone that at his stature that understands the problem and that can amplify our message has just been amazing.
No, that's cool. And I like the feature. You're gonna hide the bag. Like, okay, I'm gonna
Well,
share your access,
That's
but
right.
we're gonna hide the bag from you because we don't need you come over here telling me you need to borrow some money.
That's right. That's exactly it.
This bag is accessible when I'm no longer.
That's
Not
right.
right now.
That's
No, that's
right.
slick. No,
That's
and you're seeing a lot of that, a lot more of that. We're excited about it. Bob stands for Black owned business. So we're excited to see more entertainers, more athletes getting involved in business, starting their own firms, right? Their investment firms,
Yep.
buying into startups, being that capital necessary to push ideas and visions forward, using their platform, monetizing in a way that is beneficial not only to themselves but to the founder, in a space where generally being a Black founder, male or female, access to capital is just one thing that's a big deal
Yep.
for Black entrepreneurs. And so having entertainers like Malik come in and first of all believe in the product, but second of all back you financially and give you his platform to express your vision, that's really powerful, and
Yep.
I commend him for that, because that's what we need to push the Black owned business movement forward, right? We
Yep. Yep.
need that gentleman like himself, and not just him too, because I think a lot of people don't really understand that getting an investment from someone is also a mental obligation. It's also a different type of thinking. You could be a founder that says, well, I don't want an investor. I don't care who it is. I'm going to do this myself. And so I commend you for that too, being wise enough to allow someone to come in and partner with you and push your vision forward. So that's a big deal as well. And so I
Yep.
commend you for that.
Thank you. And I mean, we could do so much more together than we can
Yes.
do alone.
Yes.
And that's the thing. Like, we have everything we need in the diaspora. We are brilliant beyond our wildest dreams. And it's about sometimes getting over our ego and our pride and saying, I need help. And also understanding business enough to say where it makes sense to strategize and partner so that you can amplify and scale your platform. Because typically I always say, look, customer money is better than investor money,
Yes.
right? But at times, investor money helps you get more customer money
Yes. Yes.
because that infusion of cash can help you with getting more human capital, more developers to help you put in features that your customers say that they want, or to hire another salesperson to work alongside you because you can't do it all,
Correct.
and all of those things that they bring to the table. And so it's about understanding your business and understanding how you work, because not everyone can work with a partner,
Correct.
but understanding how you work and evaluating if the relationship is going to be beneficial to you and the business. Because at the end of the day, especially with PRISM, we're about to enter the greatest wealth transfer ever.
Yes.
Like, boomers are set to transfer about $70 trillion to the next generation.
Wow.
$70 trillion, right? I believe it was the New York Times that just dropped this article about a couple of days ago. And if we are not organized to know where those dollars are, because you got grandma and grandpa who had properties, they owned their homes, right? They want to pass it down. There's equity in those homes, right? And if I don't know that I've inherited this, what's going to happen? The investor will come buy the tax certificate because I didn't know that I owned it. I didn't pay the taxes on it. They went delinquent, and then now they came in and they bought it.
No,
Right?
dead on. That's exactly how it happens often, right?
Yeah.
And so technology has provided value in a way that we could protect some of that, right? Even if
That's
we're
right.
only able to, in this generation, as the baby boomers transfer wealth, capitalize on, let's say, 40% of it, versus in the past where we're not capitalizing on, but what, less than 5% of it.
Yeah.
That's a win too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And something you said about, I want to go back to something you said about everybody does not have a partner mentality. That's so true. It's often in our community that's the case. But we want to change that.
Yeah.
I tell, people I mentor in business, nothing exists independent of something else. I don't care what it is.
That's right.
Everything and everyone needs someone.
That's
And
right.
so if you're an entrepreneur, or if you're just, working at a corporation, or whatever your profession is, you need someone. And to have the mentality of partnering and collaborating, this mentality pushes you forward individually every single time.
Absolutely.
And that's a hard one often, because it kind of defies or undermines kind of what we've known in our culture. But I see more of it. You see a lot of collaborating, even with Magic Johnson with the Commanders.
Yeah.
That was very smart. You
Yeah.
see, I think 50 Cent and someone's coming together to try to put a bid on BET.
Yep.
This is smart. Like you
It
said,
absolutely is.
more powerful together. And I think we consistently see that happening. I think it's going to cause a shift in mindset, so that, like, when I start a business, day one, I always say, who will I start this business with? That's before I even get to the capital demand. It's who can I call? Who do I feel comfortable with that I believe can bring value to the goal of this business, so we can do it together? And some of those people start with me in the beginning. Some of those people come after the journey is started. But for sure, there will always be other people involved. You won't see me running a business alone. It doesn't work in most.
It doesn't. And I think it's Jay-Z who said, I'd rather own 1% of something than 100% of nothing.
Yes.
And we all really embrace that mentality. I mean, how powerful can we be? Like, really, how powerful can we be?
No, you're onto it, and you're using that principle to push your vision forward. And even because I was an athlete, and the mentality is very consistent as an athlete, a team sport, because you have to think like that. Sometimes you're the role player, sometimes you're the star. But either way, the role player and the star is dependent upon each other. Neither one can happen without the other. So,
and I typically say, and people resonate with this, that it's no longer the Superman mentality.
Nope.
Right? It's the Avengers.
Yeah.
Right? Who really is the leader of Avengers? You really don't know.
Nope.
Sometimes it might be Iron Man. Next minute it might be Captain America.
Yeah.
Then Black Widow might step up. So it's just the strength of the team collectively. And you play up your strengths depending on the situation.
Correct.
Superman can't do it all. That's why he died.
Yep.
And we had that mentality for so long to be Superman, and we could do it all. I'm happy to see that as a community and as a people, we are shifting our minds to say we need a team to do this and play up the strengths depending on the situation, depending on the industry, depending on the product, depending on the customers, right? We bring so much genius to the market. It just doesn't make sense for us not to collectively collaborate.
100%. And with that said, we all for PRISMM. Whatever Bob can do, we're always for it. We have to do something together. We're thinking about a conference.
Okay.
Soon, so we definitely want to get you involved with that, pull you in. And we got some other stuff going on that I've already talked to you about. So let's keep pushing our agenda. Let's keep doing business. Black-owned business is beautiful. It's always awesome to talk to a Black founder, especially one who's just starting and really getting momentum and really in the weeds of it and getting things moving. Definitely want people to know entrepreneurship is not a choice. Entrepreneurship is your life when you choose it. And so it comes with everything you can imagine, but the payoff to be able to impact lives, just the social impact of it is priceless. So we thank you for your efforts. Do you want to give us how can a person find PRISMM and find you socially?
Sure, you can find me across all socials at GetPrism. That's GetPrismm. And then the website is getprism.com.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, we all need a tool like PRISMM. No matter what you do, everybody is going to transition, and everybody has somebody who's going to transition. So it would behoove you to go out, read up on it, and adopt it for your family and yourself, of course, and support a Black-owned business. So this has been another great episode of the Let Bob podcast. As you know, you can find us on all social media at We Are Let Bob, and find myself personally at I Am Let Bob. Thank you so much, Martha, for coming on and letting us in on your head and what you got going. And we wish you much love and success in your business. Thanks for being a Black-owned business.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's just something that I feel that this world don't feel. I gotta keep it real.